In 1983, for the 84 model year, Toyota introduced an SUV-ified, if you will, version of its pickup truck, in other markets known as the Hilux, known as the 4Runner SUV. Side note, in other markets, that was also known as the Hilux Surf. Just add a word and you get the SUV. And this was nothing more than a modified Toyota pickup truck. Now, the 4Runner has always been a very capable, very popular, very sought-after off-road SUV. It has undergone several generations since it was introduced, and this is where we are now. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to That Car Vlog channel. My name is Andy, and this is the 2022 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. But there's something interesting about the current generation Toyota 4Runner. This generation 4Runner has been on the market for 13 years now. 2010 was when this body style came out, this generation 4Runner. And it's still in production now in 2022, using the exact same 4-liter V6 that it started with, the same one that's also in the FJ Cruiser. Same engine used for all those years. And even though it's undergone very few updates and it's actually missing a lot of features that would be expected of a 2022 vehicle, these things are still incredibly popular. They're selling like hotcakes. They're selling for incredibly high values in this wacko 2022 car market. And really, it's kind of an outdated truck, in a manner of speaking. And we're gonna see what that's like today. You'll see all the reasons why it's a bit outdated as we go through the tour. And we're gonna take a full tour of this thing today. Full walk around inside and outside tour of this vehicle. We're gonna check out all the features it does have and talk about some of the ones it doesn't. And then we'll get this thing out on the road, take it for a test drive, see what it's like to drive this beast. So you'll know what you need to know when you're looking to possibly buy one of these things. All right, so as usual, let's start on the outside with the styling of the 4Runner. Now, first of all, talking about this color is known as Lime Rush. It's this awesome green color. It comes across pretty good on camera. It's much better in person. Now, if we look down here, these are the 17-inch TRD off-road wheels that are standard on the TRD Pro. These are specific to the TRD Pro. You see, these are wrapped in Nitto terrain grappler tires. I'm not so sure, I don't know if these are factory or not, but they're very good looking tires, and you need to have off-road tires on a truck like this. Behind these tires, we may or may not be able to see, there are Fox shocks on all four corners of the 4Runner. Now you can see here it's got a pretty good ride height on it. We're talking about nearly 10 inches of ground clearance and an approach angle of 33 degrees. Once again, making this a pretty great off-roader. Speaking of off-roading and approach angles, if we look down here, we see a skid plate with TRD printed in red on it to protect the underside of this thing, because this thing is definitely made to take on the trails. Coming across the front, this should be a very familiar style 4Runner to everybody. Now, I do like here on the grille has Toyota written out instead of the logo. This is only on the TRD Pro model. All of your lower trims have just the Toyota logo, but this is the top of the line trim for the 4Runner, the TRD Pro, and it has the Toyota script written out, which is, I think, a really great touch. You do have what looks like a hood scoop on the hood. Pretty sure this is non-functional, but it does give it a neat look, I will admit. Coming across the top, you see this roof basket, which is part of the TRD Pro package. This thing is standard on the TRD Pro. Here you have TRD Pro written on the C-pillar in black letters, nice contrast against the green to let you know exactly what this thing actually is. Across the back, it's really just a typical 4Runner. There's nothing really special about the rear end. You can still see the roof basket from the back, which is neat. You do have the TRD Pro badges on the tailgate. Once again, letting everybody know what this thing is. And of course, a tow package, because you can tow with this beast too. Of course you can. It's a Toyota SUV. Now, two exterior features that you're gonna see on a lot of new cars, especially now in 2022, that this one doesn't have. One of those is on the front. Now, this has daytime running lights like any other vehicle. However, it uses your inside incandescent or halogen bulbs as your running lights. It does not have any LED daytime running lights. Now, not all new vehicles have it, but most of them do, especially one that holds the kind of value that this one does. The other exterior feature your 4Runner doesn't have is on the rear, and that is rear parking sensors in the bumper. So most cars, new cars, and even a lot of older cars that moved in the last 10 or 15 years have had those little dots you see on the bumper. They're like 4 of them on the bumper. Those are, of course, your radar parking sensors. So if you're gonna hit something, it beeps so that you don't. This does not have them. Now, one feature the 4Runner has that I really do love is this rear window rolls down there. There's two ways to control it. There's a button in the center console that you can use to roll it down or back up, and we'll look at that in a second. Or it has controls right here on the tailgate next to the R in the 4Runner logo. So of course, just like opening the doors, you have to have the key on you. But when you do, if you push this button, it will lock the doors, which is something it does apparently, and roll it down. That way you can just reach right in here, put stuff in, no problem. You don't have to open the whole tailgate, whatever. When you're done, you're ready to put it back up, just push the button. It'll go back up It'll also operate the doors for some reason, and you're closed. That's a really cool feature. I really like that. That's more people should do this, but Toyota's the ones that do roll down rear windows. Nobody else does that crap, so cool. All right, now before we get in the truck, we'll take a look at the key. Now this isn't really anything special. It's just a typical Toyota key. It has lock, unlock, and your panic button, but it seems to be missing a function that you should be able to expect on a top of the line 2022 vehicle, especially one that's going for a lot of money, and that is remote start. Or is it actually missing it? In reality, your 4Runner and many other Toyotas can be optioned with remote start, but it's done by pressing the lock button 3 times. Now, I cannot get this thing to do it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, or maybe it's actually not equipped on this one. Maybe it's an option, but that's supposed to be how you remote start it if it actually does have it. Now, it does have a feature that I like that our Highlander also has, and that's with the key in your pocket. If you put your hand on the back of the handle, it will unlock the doors for you. And if you touch right here on these 2 lines, it'll lock the doors. It's kind of a nice feature. I do like it. I like it on our Highlander as well. Climbing inside, first we'll look at the door panel here. I do kind of like this door panel actually. It's got this black, it's got the soft touch material. It's not luxurious, but it feels okay. It's got a little bit of contrasted red stitching. Got a little bit of shiny black bits here on the handle. And up here on the top of the door, which I'm not the biggest fan of this placement, but a lot of cars do it now. You got your full array of door switches, power locks, that kind of thing. You do have a fully power adjustable seat, which is very nice to have. Once again, it's that black with the red contrast stitching on it. And up in the headrest, it's got the TRD Pro embroidered into it. Down here, you've got your TRD Pro floor mat. You see 4Runner TRD Pro in the floor mat. Big lettering, looks really cool, especially with this tire track going over rocky terrain and this mountainous terrain up here ahead of that. Looks a really cool floor mat. Now we'll jump in and start the 4Runner. Now this does have a push button starter like most modern cars do, so that's nice to have. That's with the times. But watch the display when we start the engine. This interesting graphic. What is it, flying into space? I don't get that. Whatever. It's still cool though. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. And then of course there's your typical display. While we're up here, let's talk about that center gauge display. Now this is something I'm quite used to. We have it in our 2018 Highlander. We click through different things. Here's your tire pressure monitoring. This is your compass, which for some reason doesn't show in the Highlander unless we're driving. Here's your music. It'll show what's playing. Here's of course your lane keep assistant. You can view the lines and where the car is. It'll flash and make noises when you veer out of the lanes. Any warning messages you have, and here is your settings with, once again, lane departure assistant, pre-collision system, blind spot monitoring, all that wonderful stuff. Here in the I tab, the information tab, your eco indicator, your digital speedometer, you got sway warning. So if you keep veering outside of the lines, you do it so much, it's gonna pop up and say, hey, maybe you should take a rest. You also get your MPG information, your averages. Here's your current and average, range to empty, your eco indicator to show you just how economically you're driving the car or not, you know, depending on how you're driving the car. And back here's the digital speedo. Going back to this vehicle information where we saw the tire pressure, so there it is displayed right now. We can continue clicking down there, and here we have steering angle, which that's kind of cool to tell you what angle your wheels are at, and they'll even turn in the graphic. That's even cooler. To the left, you got a fairly typical array of controls, your auto headlights, your gauge brightness dimmer, your power mirrors. You do have a built-in power inverter in this thing, so there's a switch to turn that on or off, and there's your rear wiper. Now interesting, here's a button marked view. It almost looks like it might have a video camera of sorts. If we push that button and watch the center gauge screen, and excuse me for the fact that it's gonna flash on the GoPro, it gives you different camera views. So here of course is a rear view camera. Here's also a top-down view. Here's one, kind of a view of both sides. That's looking at your front. So if you're afraid of curbing something or running over something close to the side of your car, you don't have to worry about that. If we push the view again, it exits out of that. Here looking at the steering wheel, you got some pretty typical controls. Here's your radio and phone controls. Most of your Toyotas and most cars period have this, very nice there. Over on this side, here's your controls for your center gauge screen. And here are your controls for your adaptive cruise control, set your following distance. Here's the button for your lane keep assistant. Behind there is your cruise control lever, which is where pretty much all your Toyotas have it. One thing you do not have is a heated steering wheel. There is absolutely no option for a heated steering wheel, so don't go looking for that option. Another thing that you expect in very high trim vehicles in 2022, not present on the 4Runner. Over here you do have a center infotainment screen, which you better in 2022. It's an okay system. I mean, it's got your home. Here's home. Press the menu button here. You get some options like your navigation, audio, phone, as well as the ability to project your phone to the screen. Click on apps over here. Not much to see here. Here's your Wi-Fi if you have it equipped. Not much of anything to see there. If you go into audio, it's going to show you what's playing on the radio. You got a button here marked source, so you can select what you want. Of course, you do have Bluetooth connectivity, Sirius XM, AM, FM. No Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, however. Definitely not seeing that here. Go into map. Here's our nav screen. It's a relatively responsive map. It takes about a half second for it to respond to your initial touch, and it'll continue to move around until you release. Not extremely big. Not beautiful, but it does work. If we click on the home screen here, it's going to go back, and you do have kind of a split view of the map and your radio and your phone right here. So it is nice, it'll show several things at one time. Now, I do like that not everything relies on the touchscreen in this. In 2022, a lot of vehicles put everything in the screen. It's a lot to deal with. You have to go through menus. It can be kind of distracting. Here you get hard controls on either side of the screen. Nice to have. A nice physical volume knob here and a physical tuning knob here as well. No, down below that, no climate control in the screen. That's really nice. That should not be in the screen. A lot of automakers are doing it. A lot of them aren't even offering physical controls. But here you've got physical controls for your entire climate control system. It is dual zone, so you've got a nice large temp knob for both sides of the car. Right here, you got nice sized buttons here to control all your functions for your air direction. Of course, your fan speed button is absolutely massive. It's a big rocker switch right here. Of course, here's your front and rear defrosters, recirc, and of course your AC button. All right there, all nicely sized, easy to use. Down below this, you get a couple of small storage compartments. You can kind of stick things in there, whatever. You do have one USB-A port for connectivity and charging, and one 12-volt round right here. What you do not have is, one, multiple USB ports, and two, wireless charging. You do not have that at all. Also, you do not have any USB-C ports in 2022. No USB-C. So make the second 2022 I reviewed with no USB-C. Coming back into the center console area, you do have dual cup holders in this thing. They're kind of laid out like the FJ Cruiser, where you got one up here and one back here. Speaking of these dual cup holders, you'll see that they have these inserts on them that if you pull them out, now you can put bigger cups in there. Put it back in, smaller cups. Here's your automatic shift selector, typical Toyota style. You do have a four-wheel drive lever. No knobs, no buttons. It is a lever. Very nice to have there. I love physical controls. I'm pretty sure this is not real carbon fiber, but it looks really nice and it looks really cool. I do like that. Here we can see the switch for that rear window that rolls up and down. That's where you control that from the inside. And here are your switches for your heated seats. Now you do get heated seats here, but another thing you do not get in your new 4Runner is the option for ventilated or cooled seats. Not even available. Now while we're in this area, let's go ahead and throw it into reverse. And here is our backup cam situation. And if it looks bad on this camera, it looks just as bad, maybe worse in person. The resolution is not great on this camera. It's there to serve a purpose. It definitely does not look good. You can tell what's going on, and you could even kind of change into a nice wide angle view if you want to, or you can kind of narrow it up and have the top-down view along with it. But not great resolution. It's just not really what they care about, really. This is what you get in the 4Runner. Now you can choose here how your trajectory lines are displayed. So here we just have the yellow squares that kind of turn when you turn the wheel. And if we touch the button here, now it's going to show you kind of a stationary lines. Nothing moves with the wheel. Still going to show you sort of the path that the wheel's going to take. Or you can turn it to where it only shows the red line to say, hey, stop backing it before you hit something. Or you can put it back to the yellow turning lines. Here is our center console lid. Once again, nice soft touch. It's got the red accented stitching. We'll open that up to reveal not a lot. It is a nice deep storage console area. Once again though, there's no USB ports at all in here, A or C. You do have another 12-volt round, which is very nice, but that's all the charging you get up here. Look up here on the underside of the lid and you get a pen holder and a tissue holder in your tough, brawny off-road TRD Pro. A tissue holder. Okay. Moving over to the passenger side of the dash, we push this here button. Here's our glove box. Not really impressive, not huge, but not tiny. Enough space for all your stuff. Interesting, the person who owned this for the last 9,000 miles left all these factory stickers on it. No one leaves these. Close that, you can see it as also a locking glove box, so you can hide some things in here if you don't want people getting to them. Coming up here to the rear view mirror, it is a standard rear view mirror, nothing special, no camera view, nothing like that. It's a standard rear view mirror. A lot of automakers are going to this. In fact, the 22 Highlander actually has a mirror camera in it. Your 22 4Runner does not. Old school. Above that, you've got a couple of knobs above the rearview mirror. So here is your multi-terrain select button. So you can tell this thing what kind of terrain you're going on, if it's just a kind of a light off-road trail, all the way up to a heavy with rocks and stuff like that. You know, just so it'll tune the suspension and just assist you in taking those off-road trails more effectively. On this side, you have crawl control, which is a low-speed off-road cruise control. You can set the speeds you want, low, medium, high, somewhere in between. And this thing will pretty much be a cruise control off-road. Coming back from that, there is, of course, track off button and your rear diff locker. I do like how they put all these off-road controls on the ceiling. You don't see that very much in, you know, just a typical off-road SUV, but this thing has it. It's kind of a neat touch. Tuning a little further back here, we have some home link controls, map lights, and controls for a feature I'm glad is present on this truck, and that is a sunroof. Stepping into the back of your TRD Pro 4Runner, it's exactly the same as the front doors. You get a little bit of that shiny black here, your window control up on top, soft touch black with the red contrast stitching. The same tire tread off-road pattern continues onto the rear floor mat, which is kind of a neat touch. You do get a storage pocket on both front seats, mesh, just like in the FJ Cruiser I just reviewed. Here on the back of the center console, you do have two climate control vents, although the only control is air or no air. There is no temp control, no fan control. You rely on what's happening up front. Down on the bottom, there are two USB-A ports, one here, no 12-volt round, and still no USB-C. You do have a bench seat in the rear, seats 3 people, or if you pull down on the center here, you do get an armrest with cup holders. These cup holders, just like in front, have these inserts that you can remove to use larger cups. Talking about sitting in the back seat, now for someone my height, 6 foot 6 and change, of course I'm sitting behind myself right now essentially, and here's the knee room. You got a decent amount of knee room. You're not going to be stretching out in this thing like some big fancy luxury vehicle, or even a Tundra for that matter. You're not going to be stretching your legs, but there's enough room. You're not cramped up in here like in the FJ Cruiser I just reviewed. Headroom is okay. It's not as much as the FJ. I can get my hand in between my head and the ceiling. It's enough, but if you hit some hard bumps, you're definitely going to be hitting the ceiling. Back seat's comfortable enough for a 3-person bench seat, but it's nothing incredible. And that's what this thing is. It's simplistic. It's no frills. It's just a reliable people carrier that you can also take off-road. And that's, once again, that's one of the reasons people love these things. People use these things for off-road vehicles or for family vehicles, dual purpose. All right, now let's get into the cargo area. One important thing to note about this tailgate, there is no power tailgate available on this truck. Even for the highest top-of-the-line trim, it is a manual tailgate, no power option at all. As far as the cargo area itself is concerned, it's actually a pretty nicely sized cargo area. Now, one important thing to note, in the TRD Pro, there is no third row seating offered. In other lower trims, you can get it, but not on the TRD Pro. But once again, nice substantial sized cargo area. You can get a bunch of stuff back in here, and if you fold these rear seats down, you're gonna get even more. Over here on this side, you can see another 12-volt round port, and here is your household style 120-volt power inverter plug right here. Otherwise, once again, no connectivity in the back of this thing, nothing special. Although this one has been optional with this neat little slide-out cargo tray, which extends like a foot and a half out of the vehicle. That's kind of a neat option if you don't want to lean into the thing, or if you got to pick up heavy stuff and you want to get it close to you before you pick it up. That's kind of a neat touch. We can put that right back in. You can see sitting on here some optional Toyota accessories. You got a cargo net and a Toyota first aid kit, which Velcros, I guess, wherever you want it. And you see on the wall here, stamped in the plastic, says JBL. This thing does have a JBL sound system. It sounds pretty good. Take my word for it, it's YouTube. Once again, no power tailgate. You're gonna have to close this thing manually. So if you consider yourself weak, just remember, manual tailgate if you want a 4Runner. All right, now let's talk about the engine of this thing. So what we have here is a 4-liter V6 engine producing 270 horsepower. This is the same 4-liter V6 engine they've been using forever. We're talking like 20 years or so. Like I said before, this engine is the same one that was in the 2013 Toyota FJ Cruiser that I reviewed just a little while ago. The FJ Cruiser came out in 07. They were using this engine then. This engine has been in use forever because it's a great engine. It's incredibly reliable. People know that, and this is what people want out of a Toyota, a reliable, beefy engine that can take you anywhere you want to go, and just never break as long as you just do general maintenance on it. Now, another way in which this thing is outdated is the transmission, however. A lot of your Toyotas are coming with 6, 7, 8-speed transmissions. Our Highlander 2018 has a 8-speed automatic transmission. This is still a 5-speed, not even a 6, a 5-speed automatic transmission. Your MPGs in this thing are gonna be about 17 MPGs combined. So you're not getting exceptional fuel economy because it is a naturally aspirated 4-liter big V6 engine mated to a 5-speed transmission in a 4-wheel drive SUV. But still, this is what people want, and that's why people are still buying these. That's why Toyota is still confident in making this vehicle, because they know they can sell them like hotcakes. These things just print money for Toyota now. This engine still has a mechanical clutch cooling fan, for crying out loud. I'm staring right at it. No electronic fans on this thing. This is exactly what people want when they want an off-road SUV, something that's not gonna break, especially out on the trails. Now, if for some reason you're still doubting the popularity of this vehicle, consider this. Last year, 2021, was the best sales year for the 4Runner in its history. Over 145,000 units just in 2021 alone. Not only that, but let's consider the new 4Runners. Your brand new base 4Runner is starting right around $38,000 in that neighborhood. Move up to your TRD Pro, you're starting to right around $53,000 or so. But then we add in the fact that we're in this insane 2022 car market where there's fewer cars out there to buy because there's fewer being made because of chip shortages and labor shortages and all this other stuff. And so people are paying over sticker for these things. Now, of course, how much over depends on the dealership and the person buying the car, and all of those factors play into it. But all those markups can easily push one of these TRD Pros into the $60,000 to $70,000 range. This particular example is a 22. It's got about 9,000 or so miles on it and is priced at about $60,000. So that's where the market is on these things. And the crazy thing is, people are paying it because these offer exactly what they want. A reliable powertrain, a tried and true vehicle, a well-known brand name that isn't just gonna break down on them once every other month or so, and they have to dump thousands upon thousands upon thousands to keep it on the road. This thing is basic maintenance. Oil changes, transmission changes at their interval, tires, brakes, things you've always had to do to a car. That's still what you do to these. Just take care of them and they'll last you forever. And that's why people want these things, and they're gonna pay whatever they have to get into them. All right, let's get this green beast out on the road and see what it's like to drive her. And we're at a red light, so we'll see what a 4-liter V6 with 270 horsepower feels like in a 4-wheel drive off-road SUV. Obviously, not fast. Interesting, the exhaust has a bit of a interesting note. I think they do that for this model, the TRD Pro. So it's definitely an interesting note, trying to make a V6 sound halfway decent. Not a fast vehicle, but of course that's not at all what it's meant to be. But I will say it's a relatively comfortable vehicle to sit in. You've got great visibility out the front here over the hood. That hood bulge with the fake vent, although it's non-functional, it still looks kind of neat to look over. You got good visibility out the rear, out the sides, you got a sunroof. You pretty much see all around you in this thing. It's nice. You got a relatively high seating position. Obviously not like a huge jacked up truck, but you can definitely tell you're in something a bit higher up off the ground than normal. You get a bit of a commanding presence when you drive this thing. Not insane, but reasonable. Other than that though, you know, other than comfort and visibility and acceleration, you know, one thing, you know, you're gonna get some body roll. I mean, it's very obvious. It's a lifted 4-wheel drive vehicle. Don't expect this thing to take corners very well. But that's really all there is to talk about the driving experience of this truck. What you've got is a mix of old and modern. It's a modern vehicle. It's got a lot of modern conveniences in it. Safety features like blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control, you know, lane keep assist, that kind of thing. But it still has a lot of old touches to it as well, such as no USB-C ports, you know, nothing like that. Apparently it doesn't have the one-touch signaling either that blinks the signal 3 times. I love that feature, and this one doesn't have it. I just discovered that just now. But the main point of this truck is not any of the crazy modern features. It is the truck itself. It's about what it is and what it offers. And what this offers is a tried and true, known, reliable powertrain from a known, reliable brand one of the most popular brands in the world, a car that holds its value incredibly well despite its lack of features. Like I said, 2021 was the best sales year ever for the 4Runner. We're talking over 145,000 units for 2021 alone. The Toyota 4Runner prints money for Toyota. There's no R&D left. It's all paid for. It's been paid for a very long time. They've not made any substantial upgrades to the thing. You're talking a small facelift here, there, small tweaks on the outside and inside. You know, at some point they added adaptive cruise control. It didn't even have it in the beginning. But this is a vehicle that just prints money for Toyota, and they could probably continue making this thing for 10 more years and continue to print money. However, I don't know if that's going to happen with the push for better fuel economy and electrification, all that stuff. Eventually the 4Runner might have to give in to those demands as well. But for now, that's what the 4Runner is. It's a great off-roader, it's incredibly reliable, it holds its value, it's incredibly popular, and this is a good looking truck. It's a very muscular looking, off-roady looking vehicle. It looks the part, and you know, it walks the walk and it talks the talk. And that's what you want in an off-road four-wheel drive SUV. You want something that will not break, that will get you everywhere you're going without a problem. And that's what this thing offers. I like driving this thing. It feels good to drive. It feels like you're driving something cool, even though it's outdated. It feels like you're driving something amazing. And I like that about this truck. All right, y'all, so that's gonna do it for the 2022 and many years before that, Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. This is a neat vehicle. I really like this thing. This is what people want when they look at off-road vehicles. Yeah, the new Bronco is a really cool ride. And you know, all these electric trucks are coming out, the Rivian R1T, the Hummer EV, they're neat. They're great off-road. They're cool vehicles. They're also extremely expensive, and we have no idea what's going to be like when they break. The Mercedes G-Wagon, really neat, incredibly capable off-road, although few people take it there. But once things start breaking, incredibly expensive, and you know they're going to break. This is the opposite of all of that. A naturally aspirated 4-liter V6 that is tried and true, proven, been used forever. It's going to get you everywhere you want to go. You're going to be able to pile miles on this thing and not worry about a thing. The 5-speed transmission may be a bit outdated, but once again, tried and true, reliable. Unlike 8, 9, 10 speeds, you don't know how those are going to be in the long run. We know this thing is good. I like this thing, and I would actually consider buying one, despite how outdated it feels, because it's neat. It looks nice. It looks really good for an off-road SUV. It looks very muscular. I love the way this thing looks. I love the way it drives. The prices in 2022 are not amazing, but that's what you're going to be paying for these things. As long as the market continues, as long as the popularity of four-wheel drive SUVs, especially these, continues, and is going to continue. Once again, special huge thanks to Twin City Certified of Maryville, Tennessee for providing this vehicle for today's review. Make sure when you're done here to check them out at the link in the description below. Also, once you're done with this video, if you feel so inclined, go check out the rest of my videos. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when you get notified. Follow on Facebook and Instagram at that car vlog channel. Two other great ways to get notified of when videos come up. And if you have anything cool, interesting, weird, odd, rare, whatever, you'd be willing to let me review and drive on the channel, hit me up at my email address in the description below as well. I'd love to try to set something up. Anyways, thanks you guys so much for watching. You have a good one now.